2025 has seen the release of loads of new rackets. Some are good, some are bad. Have any made it into my top 5? Let's find out. Ben here from PH Tennis, and this is my top 5 rackets so far in 2025. There's some from the past, and there's actually quite a few new entries. Now, what do I look for in a racket? I like fun rackets, I like rackets that are easy to use, and usually I like rackets that don't pigeonhole too much. So what I mean is I don't like really overly powered rackets. I don't like really precise rackets. Something nice and easy in the middle that everyone can use and enjoy. However, as you will see, there are a few contradictions coming, but that just means they're fantastic rackets. So let's get started with number 5. So in at number 5, it is the brand new Head Radical Pro. Now, full disclosure, haven't played a huge amount with this racket, but for the week or two I have been testing it, I have absolutely loved it, and that's why it is only number 5 at the moment. It was nearly an honourable mention, but I have a sneaking suspicion that it could be a little bit higher in the future. Why I like it: for a 98 square inch, 315 gram racket, it plays so much lighter, so much easier than you'd expect. It gets plenty of power, loads of spin, and the touch and feel is absolutely fantastic. Probably from the Exotic 2.0, but generally just because it's a really well-made, lovely thing. Now, the colour puts a lot of people off. I don't really mind it. The more I look at it, the more it grows on me. But all in all, for a sort of heavy-ish racket that's easy to use and fun to play with, you can't go wrong with the brand new Radical Pro. At number 4, contradiction. It is the Babolat Pure Drive. Now, this is the standard one, the 100 square inch, 300 gram, one of the most powerful rackets on the market. However, it is really nice to play with. I really disliked old Pure Drives. So when we used this for the first time, sort of towards the tail end of last year, the improvement and the upgrade from the last version to this one is what I really liked. This is a completely different feeling. It is a completely different experience. So if you have used a Pure Drive in the past and don't like them because they're too stiff and they don't feel very nice, like I did, trying this new one, a revelation. So essentially, I'm not a huge fan of power frames in general, but the Babolat Pure Drive, this new model, is so much better and feels so easy to use and so much more comfortable and forgiving. It had to make it into my top 5. As a racket I wouldn't have liked this time last year. I wouldn't have put a Pure Drive anywhere near a top 5 rackets, but such an improvement. I strongly suggest you will give this one a try. The Babolat Pure Drive is at number 4. Number 3, we have the Wilson Blade 98 1619. Now, this is very specific. This has to have restring sync in it for me to make it into the top 5. It's something about the combination of this frame and that string creates one of the most enjoyable playing experiences. So the Blade is a narrow beamed control frame, fairly underpowered, but incredibly nice feeling. So this was the sharper blade, and it feels sharp, and that's why I think it goes particularly well with sync from restring, because that's a slightly softer string and the combination is delightful to play with. You can't go wrong with a blade. They feel fantastic. It is almost like the Rolls Royce of tennis rackets is what we say. Looks really smart, all in green, plays really well. The other versions, the 1820, the 100, are also brilliant rackets. It's just that this feels like the purest one for me. The open string pattern just gives it that little bit more spin, a little bit more power that you do lack from these narrow control frames. So at number 3, the Wilson Blade 1619. At number 2, I have my last contradiction, the Yonex Percept 97H. I presume the H stands for heavy because this is a 330 gram racket. Let me check. Because this is a 330 gram racket. Now, over the course of last year, we were doing a little experiment at PH Tennis, and I took one of my old rackets that I actually used and we weighted it up So we're playing around with a swing weight machine and just adding weight, just playing around with changing the balance, the swing weight, all those sorts of things. And ultimately I ended up with a very, very heavy racket. Slightly over 400 grams static weight. Now that was obviously ridiculous, but what it did is sort of opened me up to heavier frames. So a couple of years ago, I never would have put a 330 gram racket into my top 5. Too heavy, too unwieldy, but by sort of recalibrating my strength, I presume, just getting used to playing with something heavier, I've kind of opened the door to using some heavier frames, and of the heavier frames I've used, I particularly like this, the 97H Percept from Yonex. It is a very difficult to use precision frame. It's a 97 square inch head. It's got quite a tight string bed. It is designed for precision players looking for perfect control and feel. You have to be a good player to get the most out of it. Humble bragging aside, I just really like the way it feels, and when you do get it right, there's something just so good about the way it strikes the ball. So new entry, if you like a heavier racket, if you are a bigger, stronger player, give the 97H a go. There are other versions in the Percept. If you like the bigger head size, you can use 100D, or you can get yourself a swing weight machine and start playing around with it yourself. But as a good base, 97H Percept from Yonex. So time for number 1, and for those of you who have seen our videos before, you can guess what it is. It is this, the Head Speed MP. Now, this is the legend colour, black on black. It also comes in a preferred by me, white and black, but this is the one we had on hand. The Speed MP is a very, very fun racket to use. It is completely maneuverable, it gives you plenty of power, but what I really like about it is it's just really good feedback. You get out what you put in. You want to play with spin, you get some spin. You want to sort of punchy defendy, you can do that. You want to be whippy around at the net, it can help you there too. Easy to serve with, easy to play with, like a good fun racket that a lot of players could just pick up and go with. However, the main reason it is my number 1 is that it just feels like home. I've been using the Speed for about, I don't know, 7-8 years now, and as I'm sure all of you watching will testify to, when you get used to a racket, it just starts to feel better every single time. So no matter what other rackets I use, they're always in comparison to this, and I'm always drawn back to the Speed MP. I did consider trying to switch over to the Pro, the slightly heavier version. However, the string pattern changes and I'm not a huge fan of that. The 1619 in the 300 gram racket is just the perfect combo of maneuverability, power and fun. So my number 1 racket, not in this color but in the other version, is the Head Speed MP. There you have it. Here are my top 5 rackets of 2025. Little note for everybody watching is that the string you put in these rackets does matter. I mentioned it on the blade, but all of them have a slightly different characteristics which you can either exaggerate, accentuate, or temper and tone down depending on what you use. Power rackets, Power rackets I tend to find suit slightly more control-y strings, and precision and control rackets sometimes benefit from a slightly more powerful or spinny string. In my Speed, for example, I like the blend of Restring 0 and Sync. The Percept 97H goes great with Polytour Pro. So part of this is, once you've got the rackets you like, make sure you're just playing around with the strings just to get the one that works perfectly for you. It is, of course, all personal preference. So there we have it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. As usual, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and you will see me very soon.